There is a silence that comes before wonder. A breath suspended between sky and earth, where time seems to stop to make room for eternity. In a corner of the planet, there lies a land that guards secrets as ancient as the very making of the world. A continent where nature does not whisper, but roars its magnificence. Where burning deserts stretch into infinity beneath impossible skies. Where mighty mountains rise toward the heavens, their snow-capped peaks almost touching the clouds. Where primeval forests hold ancient trees that defy gravity. And thunderous waterfalls crashing down with the force of 1,000 storms. Welcome to a journey across the wildest and most extraordinary places of the United States, where every step is an emotion and every horizon is a masterpiece of nature. Grand Canyon. Have you ever wondered what it means to feel infinitely small and extraordinarily alive at the same time? Well, you must visit the Grand Canyon. A vertiginous abyss of 446 kilometers, or 277 miles, that cuts through Arizona like a wound in the Earth's crust, deep up to 1.6 kilometers, or 1 mile, and wide 29 kilometers, or 18 miles. Layer after layer, the Colorado River has patiently sculpted the ground for 2 billion years, revealing pages of colored rock that tell the story of our planet. The South Rim, accessible and popular, offers spectacular panoramas from points like Mather Point and Yavapai Observation Station, where visitors from all over the world share a collective experience of wonder. Just 33 kilometers, or 21 miles as the crow flies from the South Rim, the North Rim of the Grand Canyon is a world apart. Elevated by 300 meters, or 1,000 feet above its southern brother, this natural balcony hides among majestic ponderosa pines, offering a completely different perspective of the abyss. Here reigns an almost sacred silence. Indeed, while the South Rim teems with visitors, the north side welcomes barely a tenth of the tourists, creating a more intimate experience with the canyon. The air is fresher, the rhythm slower, the connection with nature deeper. Between these two worlds flows the powerful Colorado, a ribbon of water that seems tiny from above, but possesses the strength to shape continents. The Grand Canyon, therefore, is not just vastness, but a testimony of time itself. Every visitor here feels something primordial awakening, and it's almost the realization that some places cannot simply be seen, but must be experienced with every sense to understand the sublime majesty of Earth. Yosemite National Park. In the Sierra Nevada, Yosemite presents itself as a natural treasure, characterized by imposing granite walls, mountain lakes, and impressive waterfalls. Indeed, this landscape contains some of America's most iconic views. El Capitan and Half Dome, for example, which are massive rock blocks, attract climbers from around the world, who dream of conquering their vertical walls. Yosemite Falls figure among the highest waterfalls in North America and amaze tourists with the power of their water flow. The hiking trails, moreover, wind through grassy expanses dotted with flowers, forests of giant sequoias, and mountain passes, thus offering unique perspectives on Yosemite Valley. Finally, the panoramic point of Glacier Point offers extraordinary views of the surrounding peaks and deep gorges, and from this privileged position, tourists can appreciate the immensity of the landscape in all its magnificence. Yellowstone National Park. Imagine finding yourself at the center of a natural laboratory where the Earth shows its most primitive force. Yellowstone extends over nearly 9,000 square kilometers, or 3,500 square miles between Wyoming, Montana, and Idaho, resting above an active magma chamber that feeds over 10,000 geothermal phenomena. Here, the planet breathes through fumaroles that hiss steam at temperatures exceeding 90 degrees Celsius or 194 degrees Fahrenheit, while mud pots bubble, creating landscapes that seem to belong to another world. The park safeguards the largest intact temperate ecosystem on the planet, where herds of bison cross infinite valleys and grizzly bears emerge from lodgepole pine forests. And precisely these pines have a unique characteristic, namely their cones open only with the extreme heat of fires, allowing the forest to regenerate from its own ashes. Walking on these grounds, feet tread on an Earth's crust barely 3 kilometers, or 1.9 miles thick, beneath which lies one of the most powerful geological forces of the continent. Zion National Park. Zion isn't just a park, but a natural cathedral where sandstone walls rise like skyscrapers of painted stone. Here, the Virgin River has carved one of the world's most spectacular canyons for millions of years, creating a place where the sacred meets the wild. Angel's Landing, for example, is truly a test of courage. A trail that ends on a rocky ridge as wide as a sidewalk, with precipices of 400 meters or 1,300 feet on both sides. The safety chains are the only thing separating you from the void, but the view from the top repays every drop of sweat and every accelerated heartbeat. And then there are the Narrows, which means walking inside the Virgin River between walls that close above your head, with water reaching your knees, sometimes your waist, while above the sky reduces to a thin blue strip. It's a primordial experience where you feel like you're inside the Earth's belly. It's precisely for this reason that Zion touches the soul in a way that no other place can do. Glacier National Park. Located in the Rocky Mountains, this park guards more than 25 active glaciers and over 1,000 kilometers or 600 miles of trails. Its geology tells stories of millions of years of erosion, while its glacial lakes reflect landscapes that remain perfectly intact. It borders Canada, linked to the Waterton Lakes, forming an international park declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Wolves, elk, and grizzly bears roam its valleys, offering a biodiversity that is now rare in the United States. Scenic roads like the Going to the Sun Road cross alpine passes and deep valleys, showing an ecosystem that shifts from prairie to snow-covered peaks. It is one of the few areas in the country where species from grasslands and from boreal forests coexist. Badlands. Time has sculpted this landscape with the patience of an artist. The stratified rocks show 75 million years of geological history, layer after layer, color after color. Once, prehistoric crocodiles swam here in shallow seas, then came the giant mammals. The rock formations crumble at the rate of 2 centimeters, or about an inch per year, yet they resist. Bison graze in the surrounding prairies, direct descendants of those that once dominated the plains. The grassy expanses surrounding this place stretch infinitely toward the horizon, where the earth meets the sky, between wind and silence. Rocky Mountain National Park. Among alpine lakes, jagged peaks, and valleys sculpted by ice, this park reveals the harshest and most ancient soul of Colorado. The trails climb among twisted pines and tundra expanses, crossing passes above 11,500 feet, or 3,500 meters. Elk and marmots move among the high-altitude meadows, while the wind glides over the ridges of Trail Ridge Road, one of the highest roads in America. In summer, the snow gives way to silent blooms. In autumn, instead, the aspen forests ignite in gold. The park is a reserve of silence and breath, shaped by millennia of frost, wind, and light. Every step here brings us back to a primordial time, still intact. Antelope Canyon. A cut in the red rock of Arizona that hides a secret. Antelope Canyon is a narrow corridor carved by water in the sandstone. Sunlight infiltrates from above, creating beams that look like laser rays. The smooth and undulating walls tell the story of ancient rivers that for millions of years have shaped the rock itself. The colors change every hour of the day from orange to red to purple, while during summer thunderstorms, water still flows through the canyon today, like an underground river. In this place, nature has created a work of art hidden in the desert, accessible only through narrow ladders and tortuous passages. Crater Lake. What would happen if a volcano collapsed on itself and filled with rain and snow from thousands of years? Crater Lake is the answer to this impossible question. This circular lake, 1,943 feet deep, occupies the caldera of Mount Mazama, which exploded 7,700 years ago in an eruption that forever changed Oregon's landscape. The water is such an intense blue it seems artificial, but it's not. This unique hue derives from extreme depth and crystalline purity. The water, in fact, comes only from rain and snowmelt, without inlets or outlets. At the center of the lake emerges Wizard Island, which is a volcanic cone that formed after the collapse and created a mysterious island, reachable only by boat during summer months. In winter instead, snow can reach 15 meters, or 49 feet in height, transforming this place into a white and blue lunar landscape. Arches National Park. More than 2,000 natural arches in one place. Welcome to the largest sculpture museum in the world, where the artist is time itself. Arches National Park is like an open-air art gallery where each rock formation tells a story of millions of years of patient erosion. Delicate Arch, for example, the one you see on Utah license plates, is the undisputed symbol, an impossible arch that seems to defy gravity. But there's much more. The Landscape Arch, thin as a thread and long 96 meters or 315 feet, that seems like it could break at any moment. Or the Double Arch, which are twin arches embracing each other. Or even the Windows, which are giant windows open to the desert sky. And each arch has its own personality, its unique geological history. Moreover, the red sandstone they're made of glows like fire at sunset, creating dreamlike atmospheres. Walking among these natural monuments is like crossing a geological playground where gravity and erosion have collaborated for centuries. And the incredible thing? These arches continue to form and collapse in an eternal cycle. Great Smoky Mountains. Every morning, fog rises from the valleys and wraps the ridges in a blanket that gives this place its name. Here live over 19,000 documented species of living organisms, and scientists continue to discover new ones every year. The centuries-old trees date back to before the arrival of European settlers, when the Cherokee called these lands home. The trails wind for over 1,300 kilometers, or 800 miles, through forests that change face at every altitude. In autumn, maples and oaks paint the slopes, with shades ranging from yellow to burnt orange. Water flows incessantly, feeding waterfalls and streams that have shaped the rock for millennia. Big Sur. Between San Francisco and Los Angeles stretches one of the most spectacular coastal sections in the world. Big Sur is a place where the Santa Lucia Mountains plunge dramatically into the Pacific Ocean, creating wonderful panoramas at every turn of Highway 1. Iconic bridges like Bixby Creek Bridge seem suspended between sky and sea. Hidden beaches, accessible only through steep trails, offer a rare solitude in California. The giant redwoods of Julia Pfeiffer Burns State Park create natural cathedrals, while McWay Falls plunges directly into the ocean in a surreal spectacle. Artists, writers, and spiritual seekers have found inspiration in these landscapes for decades. That's why Big Sur is more than a destination. It's an experience that touches the soul, a place where nature's majesty reveals itself in all its power. Bryce Canyon National Park. Don't be fooled by the name. Bryce isn't a canyon, but a series of natural amphitheaters carved into the plateau. And what amphitheaters? Thousands of rock pinnacles called hoodoos rise from the bottom, like an army of stone warriors frozen in time. And each hoodoo is unique. Some look like castle towers, others mythical human figures, still others fantastic animals. And their colors change with the light, from soft pink at dawn, to intense red at noon, to burnished gold at sunset. And in winter, when snow whitens their tops, the landscape becomes truly surreal. But Bryce's secret is the altitude. At 2,400 meters or 7,900 feet, it's cool even in summer, and in winter it snows abundantly. It's an alpine oasis in the desert, where ponderosa pines perfume the air and where geology becomes art. Okefenokee Swamp. It extends for 1,770 square kilometers, or 683 square miles, fed primarily by rain that falls directly on its surface. The name derives from the Hitchiti language and means trembling earth because the ground beneath your feet undulates when you step on it. The acidic waters, colored by tannin from decomposing plants, flow slowly southward, forming the Suwannee River. Alligators warm themselves in the sun on the banks, while white herons hunt fish in shallow waters. Bald cypresses emerge from the water with their aerial roots, called pneumatophores, which allow submerged roots to breathe. Water in this place dominates and decides everything. Redwood National Park. The giants of the California coast tower toward the sky, while morning fog envelops their massive trunks. These trees have existed for over 2,000 years, silent witnesses to the history that has unfolded beneath their branches. Here, visitors walk with necks bent backward, trying to glimpse the tops that reach heights of over 100 meters or 328 feet, and light filters through the foliage, creating rays that illuminate the undergrowth rich with life. Mushrooms and ferns thrive in the humid ecosystem, while the nearby coast completes this primordial world with beaches where ocean waves have shaped rocks and logs carried by the current. Redwood represents nature's resilience, a place where humans rediscover their own dimension in the universe. Monument Valley. In the heart of the Navajo Desert, Monument Valley stands like a primordial stage of red sandstone giants. The reliefs and solitary pinnacles, sculpted by millions of years of patient erosion, stand against impossibly blue skies. This is not just a landscape, rather, it is the sacred heart of the Navajo Nation. And every stone tells a legend, every shadow whispers secrets. The pinnacles, sculpted by billions of raindrops and gusts of wind, create a skyline more evocative than any modern metropolis. Even Hollywood discovered and loved it, transforming it into the very emblem of the Wild West. John Ford found his muse here, immortalizing it in masterpieces that defined an entire cinematic genre. At dawn or sunset, when light ignites the vertical walls and shadows stretch like thoughts, Monument Valley reveals its true nature. It's not just a place to see, but an experience that redefines the very concept of wonder. Olympic National Park. Three different ecosystems enclosed in a single wild reserve. Here in the heart of Washington State, you can walk among temperate rainforests in the morning and find yourself on beaches battered by Pacific waves in the afternoon. The park guards one of the few remaining examples of temperate rainforest in the continental United States, where Douglas firs over 70 meters or 230 feet tall create true natural cathedrals. But that's not all. Moving inland, the trails will take you through alpine meadows dotted with wildflowers up to the permanent glaciers of the Olympic Mountains. The geographic isolation of this peninsula has created unique species that you won't find anywhere else. The Olympic trout and the varied thrush are just two examples. Every step here reveals how nature manages to be incredibly diverse, even in relatively small spaces. Adirondack Mountains. Lakes dot this region, and the Adirondack Mountains form a circle of peaks that doesn't belong to the Appalachian chain, but exists as a mountain island surrounded by plains. Wealthy New York families built their summer retreats here, called great camps, with wooden structures that today tell the story of the American Golden Age. Additionally, water flows pure from mountain springs, feeding rivers that eventually reach the Atlantic Ocean. While in autumn, trees change color, in an explosion that attracts visitors from all over the country. There are also 2,000 miles or 3,200 kilometers of trails where hikers can walk for days, without encountering signs of civilization, with perhaps black bears moving silently among the trees, despite proximity to the metropolis. White Sands National Park. Gypsum covers 712 square kilometers, or 275 square miles of desert, with white dunes that reflect sunlight. This mineral comes from surrounding mountains, transported by water into an ancient basin where it evaporates and crystallizes. Wind does the rest, building dunes that can reach 18 meters or 59 feet. Some plants have developed roots up to 9 meters or 30 feet long, to survive the sands movement. Nothing here is permanent. In fact, the dunes constantly shift, erasing every trace of the previous day. Sedona. This city emerges from the desert with an incredibly rare landscape. The red rocks rise from the arid earth, forming unique silhouettes against the intense blue sky. At dawn and sunset, the sun transforms these formations into flames of stone, a spectacle that continues to attract tourists and spiritual seekers from everywhere. According to some, hidden among the canyons are what many call energy vortexes, points that attract people seeking healing or spiritual connection. Additionally, the area offers numerous trails to explore these primordial landscapes on foot. While in the city center, instead, you'll find a mix of art galleries and refined boutiques. Acadia National Park. The Atlantic coast meets the forest in the first national park east of the Mississippi. Waves crash against pink granite cliffs, while trails wind through centuries-old conifer woods. Visitors climb to Cadillac Mountain, the first point in the continental United States to see the sunrise. Morning fog, meanwhile, envelops inland lakes, creating a landscape that changes with the seasons, passing from the intense green of summer to the flaming colors of autumn. Additionally, tides continuously transform the coastline, uncovering pools rich with marine life during low tide. Acadia represents the meeting of land and sea, a unique ecosystem where the trail network allows exploration of this wild corner of New England. Grand Teton National Park. Established in 1929, this park represents one of North America's most intact ecosystems, where the original wilderness has remained substantially unchanged. It extends over 1,250 square kilometers, or 483 square miles of protected territory, which includes not only the iconic peaks, but also prairies, conifer forests, and wetlands, fundamental for wildlife migration. Jackson Hole Valley, the heart of the park, hosts one of the continent's largest concentrations of megafauna. With elk herds exceeding 10,000 specimens, black and grizzly bears, gray wolves reintroduced in the 90s, and over 300 bird species. The Snake River flows through the park, creating meanders and marshy areas, while the Mormon Row Historic District preserves the historical structures of the first Mormon settlers, who established themselves in the valley in the 1890s with iconic wooden cabins that stand out against the Teton peaks. In this park, moreover, animal migration corridors are constantly monitored. During winter, for example, when temperatures drop below -30 degrees Celsius, thousands of elk migrate toward safer refuges, creating a natural spectacle that attracts researchers from around the world. Visitors finally can explore over 320 kilometers or 200 miles of trails that cross different ecosystems, including alpine lakes at 3,000 meters or 9,800 feet elevation and valley floor prairies. Tongass National Forest. This temperate rainforest extends for 68,000 square kilometers, or 26,250 square miles, along the southeastern coast of Alaska. Sitka spruce trees reach heights of 90 meters, or 295 feet, while moss covers every available surface, creating layers as thick as cushions. Here it rains or snows an average of 200 days per year, feeding thousands of streams that flow into the ocean. Salmon swim upstream every summer, and brown bears gather on the banks to feed. Glaciers descend from the mountains until they touch the sea, calving icebergs that float among the islands. Humidity here is the true master, a constant and immutable presence. Death Valley. An environment of absolute extreme conditions, located between California and Nevada. This desert territory appears as a landscape from another world, also constituting the lowest elevation point in North America and the place where the highest temperature on the planet has been recorded. In this area, there are surprising scenes, with formations of golden sand dunes alternating with plains covered in white salt. Badwater Basin, for example, one of the most characteristic zones, offers panoramas reminiscent of the lunar surface, with its cracked terrain and salt expanses. Despite the ominous name, this environment hosts various life forms. In fact, following sporadic rain events, the desert temporarily transforms into a carpet of colorful wildflowers, creating a spectacle as unexpected as it is fascinating. Horseshoe Bend. Just 7 kilometers or 4.3 miles from the town of Page, the Colorado River performs one of its most spectacular natural acrobatics. It's called Horseshoe Bend a perfect horseshoe of sandstone where the river flows 300 meters, or 984 feet, below a vertiginous precipice. If you reach the edge after a short walk, your breath will suddenly be taken away. There's no railing to hold you back. It's just you suspended between sky and earth, while the vortex of water below draws a perfect 270-degree curve. The sunlight bounces off the rock walls, creating a natural kaleidoscope that changes continuously throughout the day. In the waters flowing beneath you, moreover, you can read the patience of nature, a reminder that the most extraordinary beauty requires time, constant force, and the ability to adapt to the path, even when it means completely changing direction. Superior National Forest. This territory contains over 2,000 lakes, connected by rivers and portages, used by travelers for centuries. Elk and wolves move through the forests, following the same trails traveled by their ancestors for millennia. White pines grow straight toward the sky, while white birches contrast with the dark green of conifers. In autumn, forests transform into mosaics of yellow and red that reflect on the lake surfaces. Here it's also possible to see northern lights that appear in the sky during winter months. Mount Rainier National Park. "4,000 meters or 14,410 feet of pure majesty that dominate Seattle's horizon. Mount Rainier isn't just a mountain, but a sleeping giant that has shaped the entire surrounding landscape. Its 26 glaciers feed rivers that flow in all directions, while its past eruptions have created the valleys that today host forests of firs and alpine meadows. In summer, when the snow retreats, the Paradise and Sunrise areas become explosions of color. Purple lupines, red castilleria, and alpine daisies transform the slopes into living carpets. But it's the vastness that really strikes you. From the summit, the view spans from the Pacific Ocean to the Cascade Range mountain chain, embracing thousands of square miles of wilderness. Canyonlands National Park. Imagine Imagine the Grand Canyon multiplied by 10, and you'll have an idea of Canyonlands. This is the territory where the Colorado and Green Rivers have sculpted a labyrinth of canyons, arches, pinnacles, and mesas, lost beyond the horizon. It's a vertical world where every viewpoint reveals a different panorama, always more incredible than the previous one. The park is divided into 4 distinct districts, each with a unique character. Island in the Sky offers breathtaking views over an ocean of red rock. The Needles, instead, is a collection of colorful pinnacles and hidden arches. Then there is the Maze, which is America's most remote and wild labyrinth, where getting lost is extremely easy. And finally, there is the Green River District, which leads into the continent's most primitive river canyons. Here, time is measured in geological eras and space in infinite vastness. Canyonlands is where you discover the true immensity of Earth, a place where the wind tells ancient stories among the rocks, and where every sunrise and sunset completely repaints the landscape. Lake Superior. Fresh water fills a basin of 82,000 square kilometers, or 31,660 square miles, shared between the United States and Canada. Depth reaches 406 meters, or 1,332 feet in some points, while water temperature rarely exceeds 10 degrees Celsius or 50 degrees Fahrenheit, even in summer. The lake contains 10% of the United States' surface fresh water and could cover the entire American continent with 30 centimeters, or about 12 inches, of water. In winter, the surface partially freezes, creating ice landscapes that extend toward the horizon. Storms create waves up to 9 meters or 30 feet high that have sunk hundreds of ships over the centuries. Sequoia National Park. The trees rise toward the sky like natural skyscrapers, some growing for over 3,000 years. Sequoia National Park preserves these giants that have witnessed the rise and fall of human civilizations while remaining motionless in their realm. General Sherman stands as the largest tree on Earth, with a trunk that requires 15 people with outstretched arms to surround it. Typically, sequoias survive fires thanks to their thick bark that protects the tree's core. And in fact, they need fire to reproduce, as flames open the cones and release the seeds. Black bears move among these colossi in search of food, while rangers guide visitors through forests where light barely filters down to the ground. Silence here is interrupted only by wind, blowing through high branches, or by the occasional sound of a pine cone falling to the ground after a journey of over 80 meters, or 262 feet. Founded in 1890, the park was among the first to receive federal protection, fruit of pioneering naturalist vision who understood this ecosystem's uniqueness. Pali coast. Cliffs plunge into the Pacific Ocean, with vertical walls reaching 1,200 meters or 3,940 feet in height. Erosion has worked for millions of years on these volcanic rocks, carving deep valleys, separated by ridges sharp as blades. Waterfalls precipitate directly into the sea during rainy season, while in summer they become thin trickles that disappear in the mist. The Kalalau Trail winds for 18 kilometers, or 11 miles along the coast, crossing streams and exposed passages where a wrong step can be fatal. Native Hawaiians lived in these valleys, cultivating taro on irrigated terraces, until diseases brought by Westerners decimated communities in the 1800s. Lake Tahoe. A beautiful mountain lake between California and Nevada. Its waters are so clear they seem like crystal, and around it are majestic mountains. In summer, the golden sand beaches are perfect for swimming and water sports. There are also many trails for hiking, from which you can appreciate romantic panoramas of the lake. In winter, the place transforms into a paradise for those who love skiing and snowboarding, with some of America's best ski resorts. On the Nevada side, moreover, there are casinos and luxury resorts, while the California part is more wild and tranquil. This mix makes it a unique place where you can find both adventure and relaxation, with the lake changing appearance with the seasons, but always remaining a magical place. Maroon bells. The mountains are reflected in a lake like a mirror when dawn illuminates the Twin Peaks, the most photographed in North America. Tourists arrive at the beginning of the day to capture the moment when light transforms the water into a kaleidoscope of colors. During autumn, aspen woods create a golden mosaic that contrasts with the sedimentary rocks. Wildlife moves freely among the alpine meadows, while hikers travel trails that extend for miles into the surrounding wilderness. In winter, snow covers the landscape, completely transforming the area. The Maroon bells, therefore, tell the story of geological forces that created the Rocky Mountains and continue to shape this natural sanctuary in Colorado. Denali National Park. This mountain dominates the horizon with its 6,190 meters, or 20,310 feet of height. Its name derives from the Athabascans, who called it precisely Denali, namely the Great One. Only 30% of visitors manage to see it completely because clouds hide it for most of the year. At its feet extends a tundra where grizzlies dig searching for roots and wolves follow caribou herds. In summer, the sun almost never sets, while in winter, darkness reigns for months. Here, surviving means adapting to temperatures oscillating by over 70 degrees Celsius or 126 degrees Fahrenheit between seasons. Niagara Falls. Known worldwide and located on the borderline between Canada and the United States, Niagara Falls represent an unparalleled natural phenomenon with their impressive mass of water that precipitates every second. This natural spectacle attracts visitors from every corner of the planet, eager to experience the power of the falls. An excursion aboard the famous Maid of the Mist vessel allows approaching the edge of the falls themselves, completely immersing passengers in the deafening roar and water mist. Additionally, the path that winds behind the falls offers an equally memorable opportunity, allowing tourists to observe the water curtain from the inside, thanks to a system of galleries. Night views, meanwhile, when the falls are illuminated by colored light beams, create an unforgettable scenario, while panoramas from Skylon Tower and Clifton Hill allow admiring in its entirety this extraordinary example of nature's power. Joshua Tree National Park. Two deserts meet in this corner of California, creating an ecosystem where life adapts to survive in extreme conditions. Joshua trees, actually giant yuccas, extend toward the sky with twisted branches, like arms raised in prayer. Rock formations emerge from the earth, piled in stacks that defy gravity. And tourists climb among these boulders, exploring cavities and passages created by erosion. Desert animals come out at sunset when temperatures drop, and hunting becomes possible. Joshua Tree is a place where plants and animals have developed their own strategies to thrive where water is scarce and the sun burns without mercy. Haleakala. A volcanic crater opens for 11 kilometers, or 6.8 miles, and with a depth of 800 meters, or 2,625 feet. Native Hawaiians believed that the demigod Maui had captured the sun precisely from the summit to lengthen the days. The last eruptive episode dates back to 1790, but the volcano is only dormant. Climbing from the coast, you cross ecosystems ranging from rainforest to alpine desert in less than 2 hours. At dawn, thousands of people reach the summit to see the sun emerge above the clouds. Here, air is very rarefied, and astronomical observatories have built telescopes on the summit. Carlsbad Caverns. The underground world opens beneath the New Mexico desert, revealing one of the largest natural chambers ever discovered by humans. Visitors descend into darkness along a trail winding for over 200 meters or 656 feet below the surface, where calcite formations grow slowly, almost 1 centimeter or 0.4 inches every 100 years, creating structures that seem to defy gravity. Water has sculpted this underground labyrinth drop by drop, dissolving the rock to create rooms connected by winding passages. Usually, silence envelops visitors, interrupted only by the occasional sound of a water droplet falling from a ceiling invisible in the darkness. Columbia River Gorge. Listen to the roar of falling water. The Columbia River Gorge is a spectacular gash, carved by the Columbia River through the Cascade Mountain Range. But what makes this canyon truly special are its waterfalls. Over 90 waterfalls that plunge from rocky walls up to 600 meters, or 1,970 feet high. For example, there are the Multnomah Falls with their 189 meters, or 620 feet of free fall. But these are just the appetizer. Here, the wind blows constantly, perpetually, and creates perfect conditions for windsurfing and kitesurfing. Native Americans consider this place sacred, and you'll understand why when you see the morning mist rising from the river, while sun rays filter through the pines. Seneca Rocks. Sandstone walls rise for 270 meters, or 886 feet, above the valley, formed from sediments deposited 440 million years ago, when this area was covered by a shallow sea. Rock has bent and fractured during the Appalachian Mountain Range formation, creating vertical cracks that climbers today use as holds. During World War II, the American Army trained mountain troops here, who later fought in Italy. Wind blows constant on the ridge, shaping trees that grow crooked, seeking shelter. Moreover, peregrine falcons nest on rock walls, exploiting the panoramic view to hunt. Great Sand Dunes National Park and Preserve. In the heart of Colorado rises an unexpected desert. A sea of sand that rises in dunes up to 230 meters, or 755 feet tall, which are the highest in North America. Around the frame of the Sangre de Cristo Mountains creates a sharp contrast between rock, forests, and golden waves. In spring, seasonal streams draw ephemeral courses at the base of the dunes, where water runs rapidly over compact sand. Summer, instead, brings intense heat during the day and clear skies at night, ideal for stargazing. Here, nature is in continuous transformation, guided by the wind that shapes the forms without rest. Everglades. A river 80 kilometers or 50 miles wide that flows at a speed of 30 centimeters or 12 inches per day. The Everglades are not a swamp, but a river of grass that flows imperceptibly from Lake Okeechobee toward Florida Bay, creating North America's largest wild subtropical ecosystem. Here, silence reigns, broken only by herons' calls and the rustling of sawgrass, which dominates the landscape for kilometers. The hammocks, which are islands of dry land covered with tropical trees, emerge from the green expanse like oases. Anhinga Trail, instead, brings you face to face with alligators that float motionless like logs until they open their jaws to reveal rows of sharp teeth. But it's the 350 bird species that steal the scene. Indeed, there are roseate spoonbills, white ibis, and blue herons that fish while the sun filters through cypresses. Mesa Verde National Park. On the heights that dominate the arid and rocky landscape, the cliff dwellings of the ancestral Puebloans are preserved. There are houses built under enormous rock alcoves with stone and wood walls that testify to a civilization that inhabited these lands for over 7 centuries. The most famous is Cliff Palace, appears as a small labyrinth carved into the wall, with towers, plazas, and common rooms. The trails lead to various archaeological sites where silence amplifies the presence of those who lived here centuries ago. The entire park is an archive of daily life, agriculture, and spirituality that guards the memory of its ancient inhabitants. Shenandoah National Park. A park nestled in the heart of the Blue Ridge Mountains, where Skyline Drive winds for 169 kilometers or 105 miles. The characteristic blue haze permeating the air comes from isoprene released by trees, namely organic molecules that diffuse light. Before the park existed, mountain communities lived here, who were forced to leave in the 1930s. Now, forest has regained the upper hand, erasing most human traces. Deer cross meadows at sunset, while black bears prepare for hibernation, eating up to 20,000 calories per day. In autumn, moreover, foliage attracts visitors from around the world. Big Bend National Park. Imagine a place where time seems to have stopped millions of years ago. Big Bend is exactly that. 324,000 hectares or 800,000 acres of pure Chihuahuan desert that stretches to the Mexican border, where the Rio Grande traces majestic curves between limestone canyons. The park's very name comes from this great bend of the river, and here the desert hides incredible secrets. The Chisos Mountains, which are the only mountains completely enclosed within a national park in America, rise like green islands from the desert. In their rocks hide fossils of the largest pterosaur ever discovered, with a wingspan of 12 meters or 39 feet. At night instead, Big Bend becomes one of the darkest places in America. Zero light pollution means you'll see the Milky Way like you've never seen it before, and the silence is so profound that you'll hear your own heartbeat. Garden of the Gods. An amphitheater of red stone that emerges suddenly from the plain. The rock formations rise in pinnacles, arches, and towers, shaped over millions of years. The contrast with the clear sky is sharp, almost hypnotic, and the silence is interrupted only by the wind. There are also trails that wind among the walls, usually crossed by hikers, cyclists, and climbers. The park is free, open to everyone, yet guards an ancient sacredness, like when for native peoples it was a spiritual place. Devil's Tower. A monolith of volcanic rock rises from the Wyoming prairie like a natural skyscraper, 264 meters, or 867 feet tall. Devil's Tower, which the native Lakota call Bear's Den, represents one of America's most fascinating geological mysteries. This formation was created millions of years ago when molten magma solidified underground. then was exposed to erosion, which consumed the surrounding rocks. Its perfectly fluted walls, formed by columns of volcanic rock that rise toward the sky, attract climbers from around the world. But for Native American tribes, this place remains sacred. According to legend, in fact, the vertical grooves are the claw marks of a giant bear, which was trying to reach some girls who had taken refuge on the summit. Pictured Rocks National Lakeshore. Sandstone cliffs rise 60 meters, or 197 feet above Lake Superior, painted by minerals filtering through the rock. Iron creates red and orange streaks, copper leaves green and blue traces, while manganese adds black tones. Water has carved arches and caves in the rock wall over thousands of years. Waterfalls cascade down the rocky wall, creating veils of water that plunge into the lake below. Moreover, kayak excursions allow approaching rock formations and observing details that from land remain hidden. Palo Duro Canyon. A descent of 240 meters or 787 feet through rock walls that tell 250 million years of history. Palo Duro Canyon is the second largest canyon in America and derives from the Spanish hardwood, precisely because of the junipers that grow here, which have particularly hard and resistant wood and can live for hundreds of years, perfectly adapting to the dry climate. But forget monotonous landscapes, because in this canyon, the rocks are an explosion of fire red, brilliant orange, and golden yellow, colors so intense they seem painted. Moreover, the Texas wind has sculpted extraordinary formations called hoodoos, pillars and spires of rock carved by erosion over the course of millions of years. Every layer of rock is a page in Earth's book, because here once swam ancient mosasaurs when everything was ocean, while dinosaurs strolled along these prehistoric shores. Thor's Well. Welcome to the so-called Gate to Hell of the Pacific Ocean. Thor's Well is a geological phenomenon that defies all logic. It's a rocky pool that seems to swallow the ocean without ever filling up. Located on the Yachats coast, this basaltic formation creates a perfect optical illusion when waves crash against it. During high tide, seawater pours into the pool and then mysteriously disappears, as if there existed a secret tunnel to the center of the earth. The black volcanic rock contrasts with the white of the sea foam, creating a dramatic effect that has inspired legends and myths. The best time to admire this spectacle is 1 hour before high tide, when the waves are high enough to fill the well, but not so high as to cover it completely.